Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, it's Jesse with the Common Nerd, bringing you pop culture and all things dirty through a common sense lens. And I have been honestly very excited about the announcement, at least cautiously optimistic, about the announcement for the Warhammer 40k expansion in the Amazon universe with television shows and potentially movies. Why am I excited about that? Especially when how much Hollywood and Amazon specifically has disappointed us for over the past few years, over time and time again. Well, for one, Henry Cavill worked out the deal. Henry Cavill and his now fiance, who have just recently welcomed in a wonderful little new baby to the world, congratulations to them, worked out a deal where he had creative control over the franchise. Henry Cavill learned from experience on Netflix over there with The Witcher, and what an abomination that thing ended up turning out to be. He was like, oh no, as a huge fan of The Witcher, he was like, oh no, we're definitely not doing this to what is arguably his absolute favorite fandom out there, his favorite IP, and that would be the Warhammer 40k universe. He's a huge Custodes fan. We've seen him painting his minis plenty of times on Instagram and just being all of those other kind of nerd things. Henry Cavill is honestly, true to God, one of the few Hollywood nerds that I have ever actually seen. He loves the fans. He respects the fans. He wants the IPs to be true to the source material and make sure above all else that the fans are happy. He has dodged time and time again the nonsense garbage questions about toxic fans and everything else, and flat out said there's no such thing as a toxic fan. Fans have a right to have their opinions based on things, and because on things they love, because guess what? They've invested their time and most of the time their money in a lot of things and in these IPs. So there is a certain portion of where the fans do indeed own these, because without the fans, the success that you currently have will flop and fail. And Henry Cavill seems to be one of the few people in Hollywood that absolutely understands that. So obviously everyone out there is trying to get any single piece of evidence or idea of what might be coming with the new franchise, because obviously, just like so many other things with Games Workshop, this is taking absolutely forever to get something done. But now finally, with the firing of Jennifer Salkin from Amazon MGM, I think there's a lot of hope, and I think we will see a lot more steam going forward with this show, because that Wicked Witch of the West is finally gone, and she's the one that was responsible for a lot of the abominations and the disrespect to so many of our beloved IPs out there that Amazon, MGM, and Prime was absolutely responsible. So boys and girls, buckle up, because we've got a few things that might get you a little excited and give us a little bit of speculation as to what is going on, what the status is of the Warhammer 40k show over there on Amazon, and of course, what some of the speculation might be on the story, because obviously we've got this IGN article saying why mere mention of an NDA by Games Workshop author has sparked all sorts of speculation about what Henry Cavill's Warhammer 40,000 cinematic universe might be. And ladies and gentlemen, as well, we've got a lovely little interview over here from Esquire with Henry Cavill, where he gives his own comments on the status of how things are going with the Warhammer 40k show over there on Amazon. So without further delay, boys and girls, we're going to get into all of the juicy, well, I lie, we are going to have one further delay. But before we get into all of the juicy details of these articles, give you all of the information that we currently have on what may potentially going on with the story of the show, and Henry Cavill's own personal update on where he sees things as they are now. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing, and I could not do that without every single one of you. We just crossed 2K. We're sailing our way towards 2,100. I think we're at 2016, and to get there, we need every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below. Are you still optimistic about this Warhammer 40k series coming from Amazon like I am? Is it your trust in Henry Cavill, or do you think Amazon might actually be able to pull off a good job with the Warhammer universe? Or are you like many other people out there who are absolutely terrified of what kind of abomination Amazon might do to your beloved Warhammer 40k franchise? Let us know what you think about all that in the comment section down below. If you'd like to support the channel, please check out the links in the description as well. All right, we'll start off with the IGN, and then we'll get into the Henry Cavill statement as well, boys and girls. So, from IGN.com, it's Pandemonium by Wesley Yinpool. The Warhammer 40,000 story, such as it is a slow-moving beast. The scribes at Game Workshop sometimes take years to inch the overarching plot forward. Take, for example, the return of our beloved Primarch, Lionel L. Johnson, which was announced in March 2023. All hail the Lion. Now, over 2 years later, the character has yet to do much of anything in the setting. His hotly anticipated reunion with his brother, Roberto Guilliman, seemingly furthered more than ever. Yes, I want to see more of the Risen. I want to see more of him doing more Lionel Johnson things and finding more of the Risen. I love the Lion book, but we need more. We need more. Even just give me some adventures of the Lion going off and collecting more of the Risen and fighting more Xeno scum and purging more heretics. I'm good with that. Just please give me some more Lion. Give me some more Lion. Sorry, I'm like a crack addict. I can't help myself. I like my Dark Angels. I also love Caiaphas Cain. Always highly recommend the Caiaphas Cain books as a very great entry point into the Warhammer universe. That's just this humble common nerd's opinion. All right. Take, for example, yes, now over 2 years later, the character is yet to do much of anything in the setting. His hotly anticipated reunion with his brother Roberto Gilliman seemingly further away than ever. Tantalizing plot threads are left dangling, sometimes for decades. Answers remain frustratingly out of reach. Cliffhangers seem destined to hang in a perpetual state of anticipation, never to be fulfilled. Such is the nature of the Games Workshop's grimdark 41st Millennium, which has exploded in popularity over the last decade. At this point, any news on how the story might actually move forward is analyzed within an inch of its life, as if an under investigation by the Inquisition itself. And why wouldn't Warhammer 40k fans act like that? I mean, it totally makes sense. That's how fans are. That's how nerds are. That's how geeks are. We're obsessive with things, right? This whole like stupid idea of like gatekeepers and that like nerds didn't want to let other people into their hobbies and all this other kind of stuff is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life, because nerds are so passionate about things that all they want to do is tell you about your favorite thing. I mean, seriously, walk up to any nerd you know and ask him about his favorite franchise and what it's all about. You better have brought a lunch, because you gonna be there for a minute. Okay, don't ask me to explain Warhammer 40k to you, because we gonna be here for a minute, okay? This is how that stuff is. So, of course, fans are breaking down every single inch of this, and I don't blame you. That's what I love about fans. That's why I love fans. I'm a fan of fans. I love seeing nerds and geeks so passionate about things. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Your passion fuels my fire. And so it is with the latest Facebook post by celebrated Black Library author Dan Abnett. Abnett, perhaps the most profile Warhammer 40,000 writer today, is at the heart of the setting's development. His long list of Warhammer 40,000 books established much of the lore fans know and love, including the wonderful Gaunt's Ghost and Eisenhorn series, and key entries in the sprawling Horus Heresy saga. Love a lot of this stuff with the Horus Heresy saga. I haven't got a chance to read Gaunt's Ghost yet. I read the first Eisenhorn book. Not bad. Hopefully they get a little bit better as the series go in. I know a lot of people are huge fans of his, so I'm going to give it a little more try and we'll see what we think about the rest of it. Maybe I was just spoiled by Caiaphas Cain and his ridiculousness. I don't know. Let's zero in on Eisenhorn, because that's the subject of the latest speculation. Eisenhorn is a trilogy of sci-fi crime novels that revolve around Inquisitor Gregor Eisenhorn and Gideon Ravenor, who got his own spin-off series. The gist is the hunt heretic. Come on, IGN, spell check better. The gist is they hunt heretics and demons while fending off the brain-melting powers of chaos. While the story is set within Warhammer 40,000's universe, it's more focused and smaller in scope than some of the other galaxy-spanning 40k stories that involve long-reigning space battles and thousands of space marines fighting alien monstrosities and even each other. Horus Heresy, I'm reading Gilliman's little trek trying to purge all the sons of Nurgle, all of the Papa Nurgle Marines. I'm having a brain fart right now. I hate it when I do that kind of thing. But I'm reading through that one right now, and yeah, that was something like that would be huge to adapt. So this is one of the things that's been speculation for a long time, is doing something like an Eisenhorn story, or just make a brand new Inquisitor, make a brand new Commissar. Like, I'd love to see, I think he'd pull off a good Commissar Cain one too, and I think that would be a lot more digestible to people as well. So it's one of them situations where we'll see what happens with this, but this has been the speculation for a long time, because the idea of introducing a bunch of giant, stompy around demigod space marines to try to, get the normies into Warhammer 40k might not be the best way to go with things. Not to mention, it'd be really expensive. So let's see. So the Eisenhorn saga includes a spin-off series that revolves around an inquisitorial agent called Elizabeth Bequin. The first novel in the Bequin series, Pariah, came out in 2012. Its sequel, the Warhammer 40,000 lore treasure trove that is Penitent, followed nearly a decade later in March 2021. The hotly anticipated third novel in the series, Pandemonium, does not have a release date, and the wait for the announcement is fast becoming Warhammer 40,000's version of George R. R. Martin's MIA Game of Thrones book. I love that. Oh, George is never going to catch a break for that one, nor should he. Why should so many Warhammer 40,000 lore lovers care so much about Pandemonium? Because it promises to actually move the overarching plot forward. Pentiment ended with a significant lore revelation. It has to do with the identity of the mysterious King in Yellow, which we won't spoil here. Appreciate that, IGN. So the ramifications of Pandemonium could be huge. Everyone wants to know what happens next, and is badgering Abnett to get on and write the book. Which brings us to now, and a seemingly innocuous Facebook post by Abnett himself promoting his attendance at this weekend's Broadsides game show. By the way, my previous post about this event, and actually pretty much anything I post, have resulted in many comments asking for Pandemonium, Beckwin Book 3, positively demanding it, and I'm delighted you're keen, because so am I. But for those who don't know, it is not my decision when Pandemonium gets finished and published. And that's the problem with working for a major corporation like this, and when executives and lore masters working inside a Games Workshop have their ideas and when they're going to do things and stuff like that. So yeah, he could have the story finished and it wouldn't matter because of lots of reasons. For reasons an NDA prevents me from discussing, Beckwin 3 and some other things are held up for a while. It's coming and I'll be delighted to bring it to you. But in the meantime, try to be patient and maybe try to enjoy the things that I am writing. The message was brought to you by Peace, Love, and Shooty Death Kill in Space. See you Saturday. Now, why? Why would there be issues talking about these things? Why would there be an issue? Abnett is bound by a non-disclosure agreement that prevents him from explaining why Pandemonium and some other things held up for a while. Well, obviously, working inside of Games Workshop you're going to be under an NDA, especially if you're involved in the creative process and the storytelling and essentially any kind of creative decision whatsoever. I'd imagine even the secretaries are under NDAs because they're going to see all the paperwork. So literally, the janitor is probably under an NDA because of things he might see at Games Workshop. So that part's not weird or unusual at all. This on its own wouldn't warrant such attention, but in combination with a Reddit post from March, it certainly does set the cat among the pigeons. 3 months ago, and shout out to the writer of this article. You did a good job. Redditor Zigga described a meeting he had with Abnett at a book signing in Warhammer store in Madison, Kent. Segura reported that Abnett told him that the delay for Pandemonium is because of the potential lore impact it's going to have on the setting, and is due to Games Workshop wanting to get the lore in the TV show totally settled first. And there comes in with some of our delays, and one of the reasons why I believe Jennifer Sulky's exit of MGM Amazon out there will advance this process, because Jennifer Sulky is the one that's been responsible for all the diversity, inclusion, and equity nonsense that's been going on. She's the one responsible for the massive amount of changes and abominations to J.R.R. Tolkien's beloved work with the Rings of Power. She's the one that's responsible for the absolute abomination and nowhere near lore accurate of the Wheel of Time show. So I guarantee you, and we know how Games Workshop is protective with their IP, I guarantee you that was part of the slow process of all of this kind of stuff. And of course, they don't want this book to come out if it really is going to advance the lore a lot more if you don't have your storytelling settled with the show. It makes sense. The TV show, so Henry's Warhammer 40,000 cinematic universe, and the result of the deal struck between Games Workshop and Amazon for movies and TV shows. It'll all be hugely exciting given Cavill's well-documented love of 40k. Not only is he set to star in whatever comes from the project, but he is down as an executive producer. All things that I explained to you at the beginning of the video out there as to why I love and appreciate this and why I'm super excited about it. Who will Cavill play? We don't know, but one character is often mentioned by fans as a great fit. Eisenhorn from Abnett's saga of the same name. The only reason I would have an issue with Eisenhorn is it's one of them situations where, and I've only read the first book, so this might be something that changes later down on the road. But the reason why I wouldn't like Eisenhorn is because Henry Cavill is very expressive in his face, and he really can do a lot of great acting with his face. So unless things change down the line for Eisenhorn, Eisenhorn's face doesn't move, right? That happened to him in the very first book I read. So that's one of them situations where I wouldn't want that if they're going to try to recreate that, or if they're just going to try to ignore that, which then once again, I wouldn't like that because that's ignoring the lore. So maybe it's something that could change down the road. But either way, there's plenty of other characters you could make him. You could maybe have the intent of bringing in an Eisenhorn to the story at some point. So you want to make sure whatever's going on with him lines up with the story with Henry Cavill and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I still like the idea of maybe seeing him as an original character, but we'll see what happens. So to fill the gap, let's enjoy some speculation. Does Dan Abbott's NDA suggest Amazon and Cavill are adapting his Eisenhorn series? Remember I mentioned it was tighter in scope than some of the grander Warhammer 40,000 stories? That might be more realistic adaptation for Amazon to bankroll than something it would need the Lord of the Rings of Power kind of money, like the gargantuan Horus heresy. So there you go. That's pretty much the meat and potatoes of the IGN article. And this is where we get into, it's one of those situations where Henry Cavill's not going to release a lot, just like nobody else is. Just like Abnett's not going to go, NDA at all. But we do have a little glimpse into what Henry Cavill is saying as far as all of this kind of stuff out here. So Esquire had this interview with him where he was this new watchmaker, essentially, where he's now this new watch ambassador, which he says is kind of funny because I've never really been a watch guy. But how Warhammer came up and all of this stuff out there is he got to go work at their benches and actually like play with all of the little parts and all of the little tools, and it reminded him very much of Warhammer. He says, seated at the Longin's workshop bench in Switzerland, he felt at home. After all, both watches and Warhammer involve very small tools, lots of patience, and a steady hand. What I was doing required finesse and concentration, and that was only one watch. It's more difficult than my level of painting Warhammer, which he is a pretty good Warhammer painter. Have you seen his custodies? They look nice. But I felt comfortable picking up small tools and tiny screws. With a laugh, I wish they'd let me sit longer because I would have happily spent all day doing that. And anybody out there that likes to tinker with things, like, you can understand that. And this is what I'm saying. This is why I keep bringing up that Henry Cavill he's just a regular dude, man. He's just a regular nerd. He likes to geek out over things. He got excited about assembling watches, man. This guy isn't full of himself. This guy isn't some pretentious jerk. Like, this is a completely different, one of us. It's no wonder he could use a little break. Bringing Warhammer to life is a dream come true, he explains. But it's different from what I've done before, in the sense I haven't had my hand on the tiller of the things before. That's right. He's getting to steer where this ship goes. He's the one in charge, and that's the important part, and that's why I think it will be successful, because clearly he was not in charge of The Witcher. It's wonderful doing that. It's a tricky IP and a very complex IP, and that's what I love about it. The challenge that comes with putting this on the page in a way that is doing justice to the complexity, that trickiness, and that nuance is a challenge I'm enjoying immensely. And I love hearing that, because that's great, because it's one of those things, what was it? Thor Love and Thunder, right? Taika Waititi flat out came out and said he only took the movie, not because he had a great idea for it, not because he thought he'd be able to do something wonderful with Thor. No, because he needed a paycheck. And hey, as a working poor YouTuber, as a working poor content creator, I can completely respect that. I understand that. Just sometimes taking a paycheck. But man, was that movie hot garbage, right? On the other hand, you've got Henry Cavill coming in here and expressing his gratitude, expressing his joy, how much of a pleasure he's having trying to work his way through this, trying to do it respectfully, trying to make it work out properly. And boys and girls, if that doesn't get you more excited, I don't know what does. He has repeated this over and over and over again. He wants it to be well done. He is a fan. We know he is a fan's fan. We know he's a fan of Warhammer 40,000 Universe. We know he had a very bad experience on The Witcher, and that's why he is no longer part of that series, right? He has creative control. And now with the speculation about what Dan Abnett's got going on and why he's not going to be able to release all these other books, because essentially we have to wait till we get all the stories done with the Warhammer 40k television show, I love that as well, because that means they're not just throwing things out willy-nilly, right? They're not just adapting this to chase money. They are trying to make sure everything is lore accurate and it stays within the same continuity that we all have known and loved. And given, we know Games Workshop's Warhammer 40k continuity can be a little crazy sometimes, right? But at the end of the day, it sounds like Henry Cavill and everybody else over there, and Abnett obviously knows that the people over there at Games Workshop are trying to get this right. They're trying to make sure this all lines up. They're trying to make sure all of this works out. And with Henry Cavill at the rudder, steering the ship that is going to be the Warhammer 40k television show coming from Amazon MGM Prime, with that witch Jennifer Sulky finally gone. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this cautiously optimistic nerd is excited, and I cannot wait to see what they come down the pipeline. But for as of right now, boys and girls, this is all we know. And we all know at the end of the day, the fans decide what succeeds and fails. And if you stick to the lore and you stick to the source material exactly like Henry Cavill is wanting to do, it will be a success. But at the end of the day, Games Workshop, Amazon, and even our beloved Henry Cavill, you will get exactly what you deserve. So do the smart thing and make the fans happy.